In this design, I've included the option to add a third colour to the central section of each of these squares. So the third colour shows through the same on both sides. And so this square is blue on the back and it's yellow on the front, but on both sides you have the green square in the middle. To start the third yarn off, I'm going to set my yarns up as usual and add my third colour to my left hand. Now, there is nothing compulsory about this. This is what I find works best for me. It's not a fluid motion, but it actually functions. So I take both yarns to the back, as I would for a regular knit, and I knit my first green stitch. Bring all the yarns forward and just separate the green out so I can purl that. Take the yarns back, then I can do a green knit, bring the yarns forward and pick the green yarn out. Now I'm about to work one last pair of stitches that match the previous round, and I'm just going to slightly tighten up that red yarn that ran along the middle. It's a bit of a juggle to get the tension right. You don't want to pull it too tightly, otherwise you'll impede the elasticity of the fabric, nor do you want it too loose, otherwise you get little blips of yarn popping through when you're finished. So back to normal double knitting, carrying the green yarn in between the red and yellow stitches. Now it's a colour change, so red, and bring the yarns forward and purl yellow. I'm using alternative rotation purling, which is my preferred method when double knitting, and back to ribbing in the green. If you want to separate them and use other fingers, it's entirely up to you, but I find it's easiest if it's held over to the left. So there are my 4 rib stitches. Snuggle my yarns a little bit and go back to complete it with the final pair of matching stitches. And continue like that all the way around the round and the following round. Then I like to check past rounds where I've worked, and I do sometimes wind up with some big and little stitches at the sides of a particular colour block. So for example, that blue stitch is a bit distorted, and I'm just going to kind of make it a bit smaller and pull that loopy bit inside and just kind of bury that down inside the double layers. And once the hat has been worn a few times and stretched out a bit, that will disappear. And whilst I'm at it, I'm going to take a look at the other side. And things look fairly tidy. But whilst I didn't discover many baggy stitches, I did discover this one where I failed to move my green yarn. So now what I'm going to have to do is to ladder back that column of stitches, just the one side, pull the red stitch in front of that green and rebuild that column. It sounds scarier than it is, but you can guess what the next video is going to be.